And our next story is another edition from Screen Rant on the details of Godzilla versus Kong. And first off, I'm gonna let you guys know one thing. I watched the old Godzilla. I wasn't a big Godzilla head. I remember one time though, I was in high school. I was in my grandmother's house, and I remember they had like a marathon, and I was really watching it. I remember watching it. You know what I mean? That's why I remember when I know I watched it when I was younger. I was a little older when I watched it again at my grandmother's house, like when I watched that marathon. But it's no secret that if you ever grew up watching Power Rangers as a child, when the Green Rangers has his Dragon Zord come up out of the water, that's all a ripoff of Godzilla. If you didn't know, and I always knew that. That's from Godzilla. That even the Dragon Zord was a rip of Godzilla. The old intro about how he comes out of the water and all of that. So I'm very familiar with Godzilla. I'm not into the lore like that. I was never a big Godzilla head. I wasn't a big creatures and monster person per se. I just loved vampires and werewolves as a kid. And I liked a lot of horror movies. I would be lying if I said I was specifically into like monster movies. I just like horror films. It didn't matter who was in it or not. And if you could get monsters in there, I'm with it. That's just how I rolled. So seeing the first Godzilla, I really liked. That was a very real world approach from the ground up. I loved it. I love the idea that you kept fighting to get a good look at Godzilla. It just made every time that you did see Godzilla a moment. Now, yeah, you could argue like, dang, we didn't get enough Godzilla in it. But nah, like, that's how you kind of want to keep the creature. You want to keep it scary. Yeah, you don't just show nothing but a bunch of shots of Godzilla. I love that, like, you see them running from the ground. It looked like a disaster movie. And then you get into a house to run away from all the shit falling. And just when you about to close the door, you see a backdrop of Godzilla finally getting into the screen. And you're like, yeah, let me close the door. I love that. Because it makes you appreciate every time you get to see him, and it makes you anticipate, it makes you anxious. Now, if you don't get enough of it, it can make you rip the movie by the end of the film, but it will keep you engaged. And I like the first one. I didn't see the second one, but I did like the first one. That being said, I get that there's a lot of people that are in love with this whole entire lore of monsters and Godzillas and those type of films, and make no mistake, I can appreciate that. I just personally look forward to seeing a good film, a good depiction of it, something that can make this fight between them important. Now, I hope they don't do a cliche and give them a main villain to fight at the very end, because that's too obvious. If this whole thing is really going to be them fighting and end with them fighting, that would be the surprise. Now, if they end up getting together to fight an even bigger foe, then that would be kind of typical. I wouldn't get mad, because it's all about execution at the end of the day. We could love it, but then just be like, yo, that shit was so predictable, but I loved everything that I saw. It is what it is. But I just want to read this part off about its possible synopsis on Screen Rant. That was posted on June 7th, 2020. A possible Godzilla vs. Kong synopsis has surfaced, teasing a battle deciding who takes the crown as king of the monsters. The upcoming MonsterVerse installment is one of the more highly anticipated films releasing this year. Surprisingly, little has been revealed so far. It hasn't been total silence. However, director Adam Wingard recently commented on the film's official rating, hyping plenty of monster destruction. There are many monsters in popular culture with king in the name. Red King, King Caesar, King Ghidorah, and more. Godzilla is uniquely the only character to be dubbed King of the Monsters. The title first introduced in 1956. When it comes to pop culture presence, Godzilla is hard to beat. There's only one other movie monster who can rival Godzilla for the title, King Kong. In the original King Kong vs. Godzilla, the beast battled it out in Japan. In the end, it was Kong who rose out of the water in triumph against the antagonistic Godzilla. Did he? Dang, I can't remember. I don't remember. I didn't remember who won. The circumstances will be far different when the two meet later this year. Godzilla and Kong are both protectors, thus there is no villain between the two. It's hard to say how it will go down, but if a new synopsis is to be believed, someone could be crowned king by the end. And that, in another article that I actually did read, and that was not the synopsis. In another article that I read, it stated that this may be a prelude to the next film at the end, which would be called King of the Monsters. And obviously that's supposed to be Godzilla. So the idea is that Godzilla will win in this one. And reading this, because Godzilla lost in the original one, which would kind of make sense. And it's stated that in this article that the new Godzilla versus Kong synopsis has been posted on IMDb via comic book. I guess that's comic book movie news. And I just want, if this is a synopsis, it seems more like a quote. And it says, as the gigantic Kong meets the unstoppable Godzilla, the world watches to see which one of them will become king of the monsters. And that's probably the actual synopsis. And the characters that around it, like the human people and the lore, that's the only other thing I think that would be probably the intrigue and what's going to per se. So it's all about seeing who would win. And it says it in the title. The question I ask you guys, are you into Godzilla and the lore and the MonsterVerse lore? Let me know in the comments below. Tell me anything that I might need to look up that would make me want to have to go and run out and make sure that I go see it. I seen the first one of the reboots. I gotta see the second one. But I definitely will go check out this third installment after I see what I missed in the other one, because the other one actually looked well done. It looked real pretty on screen and everything. And from what I understand, everyone out of this MonsterVerse has new directors, so it's gonna be a lot of different takes. In an article I read elsewhere, they even discussed could that work in an advantage, but it's been going this way so far, so we shall see. But let me know your thoughts on everything in the comments below.